Legislative Rules Committee meeting to order,
Start doing
January
summer
24th,
anyway.
2017.
Lunches.
Little change in the agenda. The first thing we're going to deal with is listed as item 2, which is a referral from November 18th, 2016 board meeting pertaining to local assessors' request for a resolution urging the state to return the management of the STAR tax incentive program back to the local assessors rather than the state. So I have asked Terry Ross, and it was at the last minute, she agreed to do that, to be here. Bob Schultz is not here, so we can or cannot talk about what his issue is. I'll wait till we get to that item. Supervisor Sokol?
Just a point of order, Mr. Chairman. I don't think we approved last month's committee meeting minutes.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I will do that.
I will second.
All right. All those in favor of approving, any discussion?
Not last month's, but
All right.
September.
All those of approving the last legislative and rules minute meetings, say aye.
Aye.
Appears to be unanimous. It passes. All right, thank you, Supervisor Sokol.
You're welcome.
So, let me introduce to you Terry Ross. She is the town assessor for the town of Queensbury. I was pleased to give an introduction speech to her at the New York State Assessors Association because she was nominated and voted to be the president of that. And so I got to speak to assessors all over New York State. I have to say that the respect for Terry Ross is statewide. It's not only local. So I said to Terry, I said, the issue that you are most knowledgeable about is before us today at the Legislative and Rules Committee. Would you be able to spend a few minutes and speak to the committee on this issue? And she thankfully said yes. So let Terry kind of give an overview and history and what some of the problems are.
Well, first of all, I apologize for how I'm dressed today, because if I know I was appearing in front of the committee, I would not have come casual snow day like we had at work today. But I did make a presentation at your November meeting regarding the STAR exemption, just a really brief overview. The STAR exemption right now is for homeowners that's their primary residence. They make less than $500,000 a year. They get for basic STAR, and the basic STAR exemption is reducing their school tax bill. So when they get their school tax bill, the amount of, in Queensbury, it's around $450, so they pay $450 less in their school taxes. The enhanced STAR is for people that are 65 or older, again, your primary residence. They have to make less than $86,000 adjusted gross, and they receive about $900 off their school tax bill. Okay, pretty easy. They come to the local assessor's office. The people under 65 only have to come once. The people over 65 have to prove their income every year. Assessors have been doing it since the late 90s. The governor and the New York State Legislature this year, or in 2016 budget bill, decided to change that program for all new homeowners. Okay, new homeowners since 2015, March 2015. Now, instead of the exemption coming directly off their school tax bill, what happens is they have to register with the state. It's no longer administered at the local assessor's office. They have to register with the state, and they then get sent a check, supposedly, in September, that would help them pay their school taxes. The same benefit that the school exemption would be, or the exemption is, the basic STAR or enhanced STAR exemption, same benefit. If it was $450 for the basic STAR exemption, it's $450 check. Okay? Huge problem since this went into effect. People still haven't gotten their starts. Some still not gotten their STAR checks. The DTF, I believe, has been totally overwhelmed with what has happened with this STAR exemption. Department of Taxation and Finance, I'm sorry. They're the ones that are in charge of this program now. I think they've been completely overwhelmed, and not necessarily all their fault. The legislature and the governor did pass this at the last minute with the budget bill and said, you know, do it. So I'm also on a committee that meets teleconferences every Thursday to help DTF try to work through this. Unfortunately, they haven't taken a lot of our suggestions. The first issue being that the checks were supposed to come out to help the people pay their school tax bill. So essentially, get the check at the same time your school tax bill. You get your school tax bill. That didn't happen. The checks didn't. The original set of checks did not get sent until the last week in September. Now, most of us know that September 30th is the last day to pay your school taxes without penalty. A lot of people didn't get their checks before they had to pay their school taxes, okay? In some instances, it hurt people. And this is across the state, not just in Queensbury. The second issue in September was not only did they get the checks late, the senior population that were getting enhanced STAR checks only got basic checks. They got half of what they were supposed to get. Huge issues. They had to reissue, DTF had to reissue checks. They stopped sending checks then until about the last week in November because they just were overwhelmed trying to figure out what went wrong. I couldn't possibly list all the things that has gone wrong since this program started. Our real issue, the Assessors Association real issue, is that for one thing, the system wasn't broken. So the governor put this forward in the budget bill saying that it was supposed to save the taxpayers money, okay? Around 90 million, if I'm correct in that number. Don't ask me how that is a savings when it's the same amount that they would have sent to the school districts in one wire transfer. Now they have to send individual checks. I've heard that it cost the state $3 per check to just send the check, you know, with the administration of it, all that kind of stuff. How it's saving money, I'm not sure. I frankly think it was a bit of a shell game. They apparently took it out of expenditures and put it in income because it was a pre-income tax credit. I don't know. I can't get my head around that.
If they don't register with the state, then they don't get the check.
Correct.
So
Well, they haven't gotten, a lot of them. I had a lady call me this morning that still hasn't gotten her check.
No, but I'm saying, you know, one of the ways.
They save money is right, if they don't register. They have to register online or by phone. Right now, there's a 3-hour wait on the phone. And it's not a toll-free number. So this mostly affects the senior population. It's just a common, I couldn't make the stuff up if I tried. I couldn't come up with how nuts this whole program is. I've been invited to testify in front of the Assembly Rural Property Committee on Monday. Senator Little's office called me this morning and asked me to testify in front of the Budget Committee on February 7th to discuss this. So essentially what we're asking, I'm not going to bore you with all the issues that there's been, but essentially what we're asking each county to do is pass a resolution and send it to the governor, asking them to repeal all the modifications to the STAR that was in the last budget bill. We're trying to broker a deal that if the legislature and the governor really thinks this is saving money, don't ask me how, but if they think it's saving money, let them keep the basic STAR exemption. Let them keep not the senior population. We feel this is affecting the senior population the most. For instance, there's something called a low-income senior exemption that the county has and the towns and the school district have. And this is for really low-income people. Now, I had a lady whose family just bought her a very modest house. this last year, and she had to go into the New Star program. She only makes $11,000 a year, okay? So she's eligible for the low income exemption through my office, which will automatically reduce her school tax bill, her town and county tax bill. But she had to register with the state to get her enhanced star, okay? And she didn't get her enhanced star. She was in my office every week from the first week in September, wanting to pay her tax bill, but she had to wait to get the check. She didn't get the check. She got the check that was wrong. She had to borrow money from her family to pay that school tax bill. It's the senior population are the ones that are going to be affected most by this. So, again, if the legislature really feels that this is saving money, let them keep the basic star exemption, but give the assessors, the local assessors, back the senior population. We're the best advocates for our taxpayers. When these seniors come in, I mean, I drive to their house to get their income if they can't get into my office by March 1st. And DTF is having a really hard time verifying income because a lot of these seniors don't file income tax. So a lot of times they don't have their papers, their end of year statement, Social Security statements. I'll go to their house and pick up a checking account statement that shows me what they're, what's being automatically deposited every month to try to verify their income. DTF is not going to do that. So what we're really, really asking is to have everything repealed, at the very least, repeal the senior portion of those modifications that they passed in.
So, Terry, right now, the Star has taken over as homeowners of 2015.
For new homeowners, right.
Both the basic and the enhanced?
Correct.
And Star, again, is
School tax relief.
Is school tax relief. And so you're advocating that the Star program for both basic and enhanced be put in local hands.
Go back to local hands.
I mean, and if that wasn't okay, at least the enhanced.
Right.
So, because it targets older people who have,
Right.
Very critical, unusual problems.
Yes.
And that needs personal attention that a local assessor can give.
Exactly.
But it would be nice to have both back into local hands because of the service that you give, and that that at least until they get going, that a lot of the staffers are not qualified to give these people the right answers to their questions.
I couldn't list the number of hotline issues we've had besides the long wait. Telling them that no, they're wrong, they're not getting a check. Yes, they're getting a check. They're getting a check next week. Call the assessor's office. That's where you get the Star exemption. They didn't, when they set up this hotline, they just took people from other parts of DTF and put them in this hotline without training, without if it wasn't so devastating to people, it would be a comedy. You couldn't make it up.
Yeah. Supervisor McDevitt?
Yeah, Terry, first of all, thank you for coming. You make a compelling case for what we're talking about here. Sounds to me that this is really government overreach, government at its worst, okay? Why things aren't as close to the source of the issues involved and as close to local government is beyond my realm. Why the state would want to assume this responsibility, I don't know what the motivation is.
I believe it was to balance the budget by moving that money. Right.
I guess we magically play with numbers, okay?
Right.
I guess, but when this was initially voted in our state legislature, was this one of these kind of midnight deals between the top three?
Exactly. It was attached to the budget, and in fact, frankly, I saw Dan Steck, our assemblyman, about a week later. I go, Dan, what did you do? And he said, well, in order to get some of the good things passed in the budget on time as the governor wants it, they passed the whole thing. I said, you don't know what you did. And he doesn't. And they didn't. And no fault. I mean, he tried to, frankly, he tried to stop the vote. to give them time to read this budget bill and understand it.
Yeah, again, thank you, and I hope
Prevail.
we're successful.
Thank you.
Supervisor Bramer?
Thank you. Is there already a proposed resolution that your association is asking the counties to pass?
I'd given, at the November meeting, I
That's what
believe
you
I
would-
gave a
that was your-
letter.
Is that what you'd like?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Could I move that?
I
Yeah.
just asked that we put that in in our formal
Yeah,
resolution
formal
format.
resolutions would be great.
Is that what you're saying? That content?
Yeah.
So-
I'll second that.
So Terry, we do have a model resolution,
Well, it's kind of, I think I did bullet points for you.
and is that the one with the questions on it?
Return the, yes, STAR program, yes.
Does the association have one?
What about the
Yes.
Yeah, does the association have a model resolution, Terry, that they're,
Okay.
does the association have a model resolution?
I can email that to you, yeah, sure.
Yeah, if you would email that to us, and basically says what you said to us
Yep.
today, and identifies the issues.
Mm-hmm. I'll certainly.
All
can.
right, so, and I assume Supervisor Gerard, that that's the model that you're talking about, and so your motion is to,
We'll have to review it.
allow that to be reviewed by our
Attorney.
chairman and our attorney. And then if it passes that gauntlet, it would be presented to the Board of Supervisors. And Claudia Bramer seconds that motion. Discussion? Yes, Supervisor Seaver?
I would just also add that throughout this process, perhaps working with the New York State Association of Counties through NISAC.
I'm doing a presentation I'll be at Association of Counties. I'm not doing a presentation on STAR.
Okay.
I'm doing a presentation on a condo bill that we're up for. But also we'll be at Association of Towns as well.
They'll also be able to help you with a draft resolution that could go out to all the counties in New York State.
Perfect.
And might be more effective across the board too.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yes, Supervisor Brock?
One of the points you have is to, do away with any penalties or forgive penalties.
Well, that's if they continue to keep this program. If they continue to keep Basic Star, I frankly don't think they can get the checks out to people before the penalty period hits. The reason being that school districts don't pass their tax rates till the last part of August. Printed bills, by the time it gets to the state verifies all the tax rates, sends out the checks. I frankly, physically don't think they can get it to the people, get the checks to the people before September 30th, when a penalty would come in. So, in one of the ways, if they decide to keep the program, one of the things that they might think of doing is asking the school to maybe push the penalty back a week,
Well, that,
or forgive the penalty if people got late checks in order
well,
to pay the
that
tax
was
bill.
my,
Yeah.
I mean, do we have control over who gets penalized?
No, we're just those are just some of the issues. We're just asking essentially the resolution to be, they repeal
Right.
the modifications to STAR that they passed in the budget
So
last year.
school could just simply forgive.
I could, yes, mm-hmm.
Right, because the idea of a penalty is to encourage people to
Pay on time, if
pay on
they're
time,
waiting for
but
the
if
check to help them
it's
pay,
not their
right,
fault,
exactly,
I mean, what do you penalize
exactly.
them for?
Any further questions? Okay, well, thank you very much, Terry.
Thank you,
Yes,
thank you very much.
yes, all those in favor of,
Forgetting that part.
sending, advancing to the, chairman and the attorneys, at least, the model resolution that Terry's gonna send us, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Appears to be unanimous.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Terry.
Carry on board, so we can use it.
No.
Funny.
All right, next item on the agenda would have been Bob Schultz's presentation. His discussion topic for today was going to be on the Constitutional Convention. In 2017, we will vote as to whether the public desires a Constitutional Convention, which is supposed to be asked to the public every 20 years, and so this is 20 years, so that's why it's being asked. If the public, or the majority of public says yes, then 2018 would be another election for voting on, delegates. 3 delegates from each state senate district, and there are 63, and then 15 delegates at large. Delegates would run for, to be convention electors, just as you would run for any office. It's not barred. Anybody who is a registered voter can run for office for the, for this, but, Bob Schultz thinks that, there might be a conflict of interest if we allow elected officials, judicial employees, public employees, union, and big business representatives and things of that nature. I don't know, it doesn't leave too many left. But in any event, he wanted to speak to us, that he saw some of those positions being as a conflict of interest, and that, we should urge our, legislators to discuss that for him. He did bring it, before, a judge, and, the suit got tossed. This was in the Times-Union. I don't know. Do you wanna have a discussion on that? Do you wanna wait for Bob Schultz on that, or you're not interested in pursuing this at all? What's the thoughts of the, committee here? Yes.
I just, one
Vice
comment.
McDivitt.
When Mr. Schultz was here, months ago, I asked him the specific question as it related to his mindset and his rationale for not permitting, elected officials to be part of the process. I'm a part-time legislature. By his rules and regulations, I would be prohibited from being a delegate. Not that I have a great desire to be a delegate, but, so, I've got a problem with that paragraph within his resolution. So, I clearly believe that we should have a constitutional convention. I think there are probably some statewide issues that have to be addressed, but that one portion of it, I'd like to see him kind of modify it and clean it up.
Well, you could make the argument too that, listen, if the public doesn't like elected officials, they don't have to vote for them. They can vote for somebody else. Hopefully that's not all elected officials running. Yeah, so it leaves it in the hands of the people as to who they're gonna vote for.
So he's asking us as an elected body, to endorse this resolution that's in our packet, I assume, and I've got an issue with that. I'd like to see Mr. Schultz, modify the language.
All right, well, that would take a discussion with him, and he's not here.
A motion to table it then.
I would
Okay,
second that,
motion
yeah.
to table, by Supervisor Gerard, seconded by Supervisor McDivitt. Any further discussion? All those in favor of tabling it, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, the discussion is tabled. The third item is, Pat Hour wanted to talk to us about a financial assistance to the counties for the cost of rabies treatment, but she wants to get more information on that before she makes her presentation to us. So we'll wait till she's ready. But Supervisor Bramer, did you?
I just wanted to give a quick update that we were gonna meet, with Janelle Jones and Supervisor Sieber, who's not on Health and Human Services Committee anymore, but we are gonna pull that together, hopefully be ready for the next legislative meeting.
Okay,
And, if we could have one in a month.
all right. All right, well, so we'll put that on as an agenda item. And I think that I still see support for hearing out Bob Schultz, at least. And we'll put him back on the agenda item for next month. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Yes,
Motion to
Matt?
adjourn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yesterday in meetings, I had asked if we could consider, the travel requests that we consume a lot of time with, their normal, training, opportunities or training requirements. And, the process is then it comes to committee and then goes to the full board. I would like to know if there's, an opportunity that we look at that process and maybe the committee chair could sign off on these, in-state trainings, which are, a lot of them are required. I think we have very professional department heads and with the chairman, also being part of the process and recommending approval, it could be more efficient at our committee meetings. We could just do a report on.
You remember what happened yesterday?
Yes, I do remember.
Sure, every month, it's just.
Even today, we had a bunch on,
Social service.
Social services had a whole bunch, and it's mandatory training that they had to go, and you list each one separately, if you could combine them all, as long as it was in-state, mandatory training, budgeted for.
All right, so does this apply just to mandatory training? And if it was budgeted for?
If it's budgeted training, and it's budgeted and it's in-state, if we can combine them up, where you could have just
All
one.
right, so there's three it's gotta be mandatory training, it's gotta be in the budget, and it's gotta be in the state?
Some may not be mandatory, some may be courses that, they send people to, like accident reconstruction. It's probably not mandatory, but he has to have so many on his staff, so it's just to move the agendas along.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, we'll probably have this discussion, but if we could get an outline to follow, maybe this discussion might lead to that, but,
I think that was all instituted when we were under the budget crunch, where we wanted to look at everything and see if we could stop because
Was
we
in
needed the money.
2009.
And this is what has happened with that process, and it's become overly cumbersome. Most of the ones that come before us are budgeted, if they're budgeted, and we've done the budget process, we've improved that, so that's looked at during that process. It's very redundant to have it come back before committees and then go to the full board. The department head certainly is capable of putting in the training amounts that he needs for the year, et cetera. It's when they're not budgeted, or some of the criteria, where they might be off budget because they can't get accommodations, housing accommodations, that I think they should come back to us to get approved, where it doesn't meet the norm.
all right, so, for training?
For any training, if it's a budgeted item
But
in their regular budget, I think the department head should be able to authorize that.
How about if it's just informational and not really training?
Yep.
I mean, sometimes you go to things it's not training, it's more informational or educational.
But it goes
Is
back.
educational and training
Yeah.
synonymous here?
Pretty much.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
As long as there's no additional cost, because that's what we were looking to control.
Right, so it's gotta be
was-
budgeted.
We wanted to cut back on them because we felt we couldn't afford them.
All right, let's
So
do
we
that.
were gonna review every one and squash them if we could. We've got through that, and the budget process has gotten better, so I think we have a handle on it. It's the ones that aren't budgeted, they need money for it.
All right, so the key is they're budgeted.
Yes. Is
All
that
right,
correct,
let's do
Kelly?
that.
Would you
Just
agree?
about everybody had their hand up, so I'm just gonna go linear. Supervisor
Yeah.
Montesi?
I agree with Dan on that, and the issue is that the department head and the chairman of that particular committee would review that, and it would pass their review. On the same stroke, that would be something that the chairman of that committee would just address at the committee meeting, that.
Summarize it,
Yeah,
yes.
summarize the people that are going, or what's being done. So there would still be that degree of transparency, if you will, and information sent to the whole committee. But if
Okay.
it's budgeted, I mean, Frank Thomas has gone through and the department head has gone through that process.
All right, so what I got here was it's gotta be budgeted, it's gotta be approved by the department manager, Supervisor Seaver.
I think it also needs to be, as both gentlemen have stated, approved by the chairperson of the committee. And then that way, it can just be a section on the bottom of the agenda that says for information only. We addressed this last year at some point when we made the changes in the GSA rates, so that those didn't have to keep coming back to committee, and recognize that any in-state travel within that department could be approved. You know, I just think we didn't follow through with the formal resolution of it, and we keep seeing this come up. So I think we're
Rachel,
acting on something previously.
approved by the chair of what committee?
The chairperson of the committee that oversees that department.
Just what Ron said, similar to what Ron said, the
Approved
chairperson.
by department manager.
Yeah, we're chairperson,
You know, and the chairman of that committee.
and the chairman.
You're chairman of legislator, that's what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
but I'm not, there's no department.
No, I understand that, but
It's
if
not
you were in
complicated.
social
All right.
services.
Yeah, we know what,
Department head and chairperson.
we're gonna be late.
Department of Legislation, that's us.
Department manager and chair of the appropriate committee. All right.
And one other important thing is, out-of-state is excluded. We need to deal with that.
So now we're back to in-state.
This is
Only-
just in-state.
Supervisor Brock?
Someone yesterday, said that there should be a limit on the cost when it's budgeted. Is the actual cost, already stated? Or does it just say within, is the budget?
Not for each one, there's a code for travel.
Right, that's what I thought. So maybe if it should be reviewed, not necessarily approved, well, I don't know, however Frank wants to. I mean, we still need to have an overview of the thing, right?
Well, it needs to be summarized on your, agenda, in my opinion.
Right, but we don't want someone taking a $24,000, right? I mean, we just need to, huh? Yeah, put it, that's what I'm getting at.
I mean, it wasn't that way,
So we need,
Simple, isn't it?
it didn't need to be reined in, it was,
Frank does a good job of doing that.
it wasn't.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know, 2009,
I'm just trying to
10.
avoid a loophole here.
Okay, so we can keep this short. What I'm getting so far is that it's gotta be budgeted, it's gotta be in-state, it's gotta be reviewed and approved by department managers and the appropriate chair. And Amanda suggested that we can have a draft worked out and look at it next month since we're meeting anyways.
Sounds good.
And then that might shorten this discussion, but
Why'd she steal my thunder?
all
That was
right,
my proposal.
okay.
Are you happy with that?
Everything that's been said has
Supervisor-
already been said.
Happy with
I mean,
Supervisor
let's get an
McDevitt,
outline and look
anything?
at it next month.
No.
Supervisor Bramer? All right,
Expect us to
Okay.
Matt?
It also should include, it should either be the, chair of the, the board or the administrator sign off on.
Just like we do now with all the
All the
positions.
other-
It'll be similar to what we do with positions.
All right.
And I don't think, I just wanna say, in 3 years that I've been here, going to my board, I've only seen one request for reimbursement for.
All right. Well, based on this discussion, I think we have enough to draft, a policy for you to review at next month's meeting. Anything else for the good of the order?
Just, Mr. Sokol's starting to count, and there's 4 Queensborough supervisors, 3 Glens Falls.
Yeah.
Some committees you have the vote, some not, so.
Yeah, so, Mr. Sokol and I spoke about that this
It's 4
morning
and 4.
in terms of, composition.
4 to 3.
Well, I think you're
committees,
missing up county, I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Where's the North County, like,
If you could do a report on that, an analysis
Yeah,
of
but we're
what
making
committees.
rules, and when we're the dominant part of.
I see that,
All right, hearing nothing new, a motion to adjourn? Moved by Supervisor Montesi, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned.
Remember, any,